My name is Destiny. As some of you may know, I'm sure many of you don't. But I'm Destiny. I'm a registered nurse who just recently graduated from school with my graduate school with my master's degree as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I am not yet board certified, but that is soon to come. And I'm here to just talk to you guys about my job. Nursing school in itself is hard amongst life, dealing with children, if you're married, if you're in a relationship, dealing with family issues, your own issues, your mental health. Nursing school is very difficult to get through. So for me, this journey has been a very special one to me because I have gone through a lot of things over the last 9 years, from starting nursing school to just graduating last week. So I felt inspired, and I've kind of always wanted to document or record my journey just to kind of, I guess, give back in a sense and, help other women and men out that may be interested in going through nursing school or that are in nursing school and having a tough time with family issues or, just anything. Nursing school is hard. Like my testimony and share with you guys how I got through nursing school, what made me decide to go back to graduate school, what kind of struggles I faced during this time, and be a light at the end of the tunnel to show that you can go through all of these things and still come out on the other side and do a damn good job at it. So I guess I should start with my background. I have some notes here that my little sister made for me because she has been the inspiration behind starting this YouTube channel about my nursing journey. So she made me some notes. They're a little raggedy, but I'm going to use this as my template to go through this video. The first topic she put is how I became a registered nurse. So initially I went to school. Senior year, I was taking a business marketing class, and I loved my teacher. She was awesome. She was Black. So I was like, okay, I really like this class. I'm very interested. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. Mind you, my mom was a nurse, has been a nurse for maybe 15 plus years. So of course my mom was a nurse. She wanted me to go to school to be a nurse, but I just wasn't interested. I was like, I'm gonna do business. Business marketing is gonna be my thing. So this teacher, she took me under her wing. She actually went to school in Orlando, Florida. So she took me to Orlando. She took me to the school that she went to, and then I was very inspired. I always wanted to move to Florida. I was like, this is gonna be perfect. So I got enrolled into school for business marketing. I was going to a community college to gain residency for that state, and then I would transfer to the university. So long story short, my first semester there, I was homesick. Things were going on back home that kind of made me have to return back to Virginia, is where I'm from. From Orlando, I started having really bad migraines to the point they were like pretty much debilitating. Like I couldn't get out of bed. One time I had them when I was in class, and I fell asleep in class because my head was hurting so bad, and I couldn't lift my head up off of the desk because it was hurting so bad that they called the ambulance, and the ambulance had to come and get me from school. That's how debilitating the headaches were. And at the time, I went to college. I graduated from high school early. I went to college when I was 17. So when they took me to the hospital, even though I thought I was grown, I had to go to the pediatric unit because legally I was under the age of 18. So I believe that's where I kind of became interested in nursing. I was on a neurology unit. They had me connected to an EEG machine to make sure I wasn't having seizures. They had to do a lumbar puncture, which means putting the needle in between the area of my spine to collect cerebrospinal fluid to test it to make sure I didn't have meningitis. And I think that whole stint of being in the hospital kind of inspired me and sparked that flame that may have been in me the whole time to become a nurse. In addition to my mom being a nurse and her heavy influence. So I returned back home, college, started doing my research on 2 nursing schools that were in the area, looked up the prerequisites, went to a community college to complete those because that was the cheapest route, was to go to a community college. And then once I completed all of my prerequisites, which were like your basic Englishes, maths, your humanities, I think I took a religion class, some sciences, and then I applied for 2 nursing schools. One was an associate's degree nursing program, and then the other one was a bachelor's degree nursing program. And I got accepted. I applied to both. I got accepted. Ultimately, I decided to go with the program that I would get my associate's degree from. And the reason I did that was I was so bent on wanting to be grown and being independent and being able to take care of myself, that was the shortest route that would allow me to gain that independence that I was looking for. And then I was like, I could always go back for my bachelor's degree when I'm out on my own, taking care of myself in my own space, you know. So that's why I decided to go through the associate's degree versus the bachelor's. And I don't regret it. I love that I did it that way, because I would have been in school for 2 more years than I had been with my associate's degree program. I actually had the honor of going through my program with one of my cousins, which was awesome. We already had a bond, so that made us closer. You know, we were able to study together and things like that. So I chose the associate's degree route, and I don't regret it. I wouldn't change it at all. The associate's degree route, the actual nursing program, once I had my prerequisites done, was from January until July of the next year. So that would be about an 18-month program. Prior to that, the prerequisites did take about a year and a half. And it depends on how, how rigorous you want your studies to be. You know, you can take 4 classes and get your prerequisites done sooner. If you're not that type of learner, you can take 2 classes. You can pick up extra classes over the summer. It all depends on you and how you choose or how soon you want to get into the nursing program. So, like I said, the prerequisites can take from a year to a year and a half to 2 years. It just depends on how great you do. I did retake one of my anatomies, and I believe it was anatomy 1. I believe I got a C in anatomy 1 and a B in anatomy 2. So I needed to retake my anatomy 1. So I did retake that over the summer, and I ended up getting an A. So, things like that may set you back a semester. It may set you back a year, but you always want to go in and, have a competitive transcript, because you are competing against other people that want it just as bad as you. So that's the associate's program. For the bachelor's degree program, depending on what school you go to, will depend on how long the program is. So I went through a school whose program was self-paced, and your terms were 6-month terms. So ideally, if you didn't have a job, you didn't have children, you didn't have a life, you could complete your bachelor's degree in 6 months. That wasn't me. I was already a nurse. I was in a relationship at the time. I was trying to live my life. So I kind of procrastinated and prolonged my bachelor's degree program, but it could have been completed in 6 months if I was that strict on myself and followed through. Because you didn't really have deadlines. It was self-paced. So like I said, you could complete it in 6 months, you can complete it in 2 years. I started in May of 2015, and I finished it in October of 2017. So it took me about a little over 2 years to finish it. Procrastinating. Life happened. So it kind of pushed things back a little bit. But again, I wouldn't change anything that happened. I went to Western Governors University. I would highly recommend it. It's fully online, but I mean, it's easy work. It's stuff that you could get through in 6 months if you really were dedicated to. I just took resources that helped me apply myself before enrolling, grants and helpful tips. So I used financial aid to get me through school, through all of my schooling. With my prerequisites, it was totally free. I used grants through FAFSA.gov, so I didn't have to pay for that. When I went to nursing school, I used grants as well, and my grants actually would have paid for my nursing program completely, but I wasn't working at the time, and I needed some extra money. And honestly, I really didn't at the time, because I was so young, I guess. I wasn't really concerned about how it would affect me now, taking out student loans or extra student loans to just have money. So that's what I did. I had the grants that paid for school, and then I did take out a little bit of extra student loans just to have some money in my pocket. I don't say that I would or I wouldn't recommend it. It's all in what you want, you know, at the end of the day. For me, it was important for me to have money and not have to depend on my parent, you know, every time I wanted to do something. So that was the best thing for me to do. A lot of people don't want to have student loans, and if that's the thing for you, then you go that route. But for me, it was best for me to just go ahead and take out the student loans and have a little bit of extra cash so that I could, you know, still have fun and enjoy my life while I was in nursing school, because sometimes that is hard to do. I would also say there are tons of scholarships out there. Sometimes the schools have private scholarships. Sometimes nonprofit agencies in your community have scholarships. Even many employers have loan repayment programs, or for instance, the school that I attended, this is another thing, it was affiliated with the local hospital. And if I would have stayed at that hospital for 2 years, then my school would have been repaid for. So those extra loans that I took out just to have that extra money would have been paid off if I stayed at that hospital for 2 years. But me being me and knowing that I did not want to stay in Virginia, I was like, no, I'm not being tied down for 2 years. That's not what I want to do. You know, I did work at the hospital because they were affiliated, and it was easy for the students that graduated from my school to get a job there. I did end up working there once I graduated, but I knew that after a year, that was it. It was a wrap. I was on to the next thing. So that wasn't the thing for me. So that's another option. You can find a school that collaborates with the hospital that you may owe them time, and they'll pay your schooling off. And then the next option could be something that I also considered was joining the military. They have student nurse military programs with all the branches, I believe, where you are in school, you're a soldier, you're also a nurse. And I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that with my master's degree program, I've gotten a lot of emails from like the Army recruiter, the Air Force recruiter, discussing that I could be a student and that the military would pay me a stipend. I guess it's kind of like a reservist program, but of course you will owe the military time once you graduated from school. So that's another option that you could use to help pay you for school. Or if you balling, then you could just pay cash, but that wasn't my situation. And struggles that I faced. Faced a lot of trials. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I faced a trial through each level of nursing that I went through. And it's crazy because I'm on the other side of it. And sometimes when you're in the motion and you're going through the pain and the feelings and everything, it's just like, how am I going to make it out the other side of this? But I did, and I'm so proud of myself. I don't give myself enough credit for what I have gone through and how I have so gracefully gotten to the other side, that, you know, I don't take a lot of time to reflect on my pain and my struggles and what I've gone through. But she wrote it here on the paper, so I'm gonna talk about it. So when I was in my associate's degree program, I found out that my father had lung cancer. And not only was it lung cancer, but it was stage 4 lung cancer. And at the time, my father was in his early 40s. So of course, this is very devastating news to him, to myself, to the family. And it was just like, why? Like, why is this happening to him? He's so young. You know, he was trying to turn his life around, and it's just like, it fucking sucked that he had to go through this. And it's like, I mean, it was like a double-edged sword, because it was just so funny that the semester that I found out that he had cancer was the semester we were studying oncology. And ironically, when I graduated and started working, I worked on a medical oncology unit. So I believe when we found out that he had cancer, I was in my, let me see, either my 3rd or my 4th semester of nursing school. And like I said, we were studying oncology at that time. And I remember him complaining to me, saying that he was having back pain, his back was hurting. But as many Black men do, they kind of brush their pain under the rug and they don't go and get it checked out and get it treated. So finally he did, and I believe he must have gotten like an x-ray or a CT scan, and they found that he had cancer on his lung. So that was the first thing. I remember at the time he called me and told me that he had cancer. I remember where I was in the car. I was driving up this one specific road, and he called me and he was crying, and I've never heard my father cry, saying that he had cancer and he was so afraid and that he didn't want to leave us, because I have a lot of siblings, and he was just so afraid and fearful of what was to come and of leaving us behind. So of course that was devastating. So then I don't remember when we found out it was stage 4 or when he told me it was stage 4 cancer, but he ended up having a biopsy done, and all the testing that they required to see how it's staged, and it had spread already, and they told him that it was stage 4. So of course he shared that news with me, and that was even more devastating because, like I said, I was studying oncology and I knew what stage 4 meant. Stage 4 meant that it had metastasized and that it had grown and that it had transferred to another part of his body. So it was very hard, dealing with that and trying to be there for him and support him. And he had lost so much weight and he was in so much pain. He was in and out of the hospital, and every time I would see him, he was getting smaller, and it just tore me apart to see him so small and fragile and, not the man that I knew him to be. He was so broken and so just so afraid to leave us. So, yeah, he was in and out of the hospital, and I would go see him every chance that I could and try to love up on him and do all the things that I learned in nursing school and do all the things that I knew to do as a daughter. And ultimately, he passed away. But I will say that he went through chemo, he went through radiation, he had his good days and he had his bad days. He made it to my graduation. I graduated in May of 2013. He made it to my graduation. He was able to watch me walk across the stage, and I remember hearing only him when I walked across the stage. And my dad, I knew him to be like very chill, very quiet, cool dude. So to hear him saying, "Yeah, that's my baby, that's my baby," when I walked across the stage made me very proud, and it's a memory I would never, ever forget or let go of. So I was so happy that, he was able to see me accomplish that. And he ultimately ended up passing in January of 2014. So we had some good times together, but that was one of the things that I faced my first tenure of nursing. My bachelor's degree program, I went through something again. And at this point, I'm just like, how much more can a person take? Like, this is just ridiculous. So broken. But I pushed through, and here I am. And just to give you some background information on what I'm talking about, I was in my bachelor's program, and like I said, I started that program in May of 2015. And at that time, I was doing travel nursing. So just to give you guys a little background and go back a little bit, after my first year of nursing school, I knew that I wanted to be a travel nurse. So I was like, I'm gonna get my 1 year experience. I think at 8 months, I started working with recruiters. I got everything that I needed, and I was out. Went to Texas, gone. So I'll get back to that. But with my bachelor's degree program, at the time that I started, I was actually at home. I was doing some per diem work at home just to, I was a little homesick. I was still young. I didn't have anybody with me when I was traveling, so I wanted to be home. So I was doing some per diem work at home. And that's when I decided to enroll into the bachelor's program. And then I was home for about a month during that time. And then I took a travel assignment in Baltimore. So this was in 2015. So I was in Baltimore for 6 months into January. I was in Baltimore from June of 2015 until January of 2016. And then at that time, I was in a relationship, and I decided that I was ready to settle down. I didn't want to keep moving. I was ready to have children, and I wanted to come back to Florida. So we moved down to Florida permanently. I was still in my bachelor's degree program. Everything was going great. I found out I was pregnant, and it was like, you know, this is what life is supposed to be. I'm a nurse. I'm in school. I'm in this relationship. I'm now going to be a mom. I'm now all the things that I said that I wanted to be. So, I found out I was pregnant in June or July of 2016, and ultimately I lost my daughter in December of 2016. I was about 25 weeks pregnant. So I was, I think I was about 25 weeks pregnant when I lost her. And of course that rocked my world. Excuse me. That rocked my world. Tore me apart, devastated me, but I just had this mentality where I gotta keep going. I will say that I did try to take a break, like, because it was mid-semester. I tried to like withdraw at that point, but they told me that I couldn't. They didn't have any type of exception for any type of events that happen in your life. Obviously, they told me I could not take a break. So I think I ended up failing one of the classes because I was just so separated from school. It wasn't my priority. My priority was trying to heal. So that kind of set me back a little bit. I think I had to repeat the class. It may have been 2 classes. I think it was 1, but it may have been 2 classes. So that kind of set me back a little bit. And that's kind of one of the things that made my bachelor's degree, program last a little bit longer than it probably should have because of that. In addition to some procrastination, but that did prolong my studies in my bachelor's degree program once I lost my daughter. In my master's degree program, I had some little hiccups with life. I decided to go back to school when my daughter was 3 months. So I was a single mom. I had another baby. I decided to go to school when my daughter was 3 months old. I was a single mom at the time, and it was hard, being a single mom. And, I have a village, I have family, I have friends, but me, I'm just so hyper independent that sometimes I don't like to depend on people, and it made me have to lean into help from other people. So being a single mom and some hiccups along the way were some of the things that I struggle with in my master's degree program. In addition to it just being hard AF, working full time, and just trying to get through it and being like, why am I even doing this? But I got through it and I'm here. Resources that helped me during school. In my associate's degree program, like I said, I had a cousin that went to school with me. So we would do study groups. We would meet at the library and we would study together. And it worked out well. We would sometimes study with other students, but we like studying together primarily because it's only 2 of us and we know each other, we're comfortable with each other, and it just worked out well. One of the books that I really loved, it's an NCLEX study book, and I'll put the link in the description. I got it off of Amazon. Me and my cousin both used the book, and it broke down everything. It made it so easy and simple to understand, and it just put everything in layman's terms. Like, it just made my life so much easier. It gave you test questions. It gave you rationales of why certain answers were not correct, why the correct answer was correct, and it just made everything so simple. So I'll put the link to that book down in the description. So lean on study groups. If you're in school with someone you know, or if you know someone that just graduated from nursing school, utilize those people to help you, help you through your studies. In addition to that, I think that's all I really use in my associate's degree program. To study for the NCLEX, I use that same book. Oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's not the SADC. It's not Kaplan. Saunders. It's the Saunders Comprehensive NCLEX book. But I'll put the link down in the description box. So that really, that saved my life. during nursing school and studying for the NCLEX. That's the only thing I use to study for the NCLEX. Of course, during nursing school, I used my notes, but that just helped make the concepts easier to understand. What I was learning in school, I could go to that book, go to the chapter, and say, okay, I'm not understanding this, and that book would make it so much easier. So I use that, and I've actually recommended it to a few people that I know that have gone to nursing school since I finished, and I don't know if they found it useful or not, but to me it was very useful. With my bachelor's degree program, I didn't really use any resources. I did lean on like my advisor a lot because she was awesome. The teachers were very helpful. It was more so just like with your bachelor's, just like getting through it, writing the papers and going through all the tedious, busy work. With the bachelor's degree for me, because I did it separate, all of my clinical stuff was out the way. It was easy for me to do. With my master's degree program, I honestly utilized the other students in my class. It was 100% online, but we did have a Facebook group. And without that Facebook group, a lot of us probably wouldn't have done as well as we did. What we would do is we would have study guides. The teachers would post the study guides, and we would there were like 40 plus students in the class. So we could break the study guide up and everyone just do one question, put the study guide together, and we're done. All we have to do is study the study guide. We were able to lean on each other, ask questions in the Facebook group. We were able to vent to each other. We were able to, somebody may ask a question that another person is embarrassed to ask. We still talk to this day. I mean, we just graduated last week, but we've decided to keep the Facebook group open to still be able to lean on each other for job resources or job tips, interview tips, and things like that. So definitely, when you start school, especially if it's 100% online and it's a non-traditional school, definitely if you have Facebook, try to create a Facebook group for your classmates or look for a Facebook group, because 9 times out of 10 a Facebook group has already been created, and that's a great platform for you to use to get you and help you through school. As far as textbooks, because I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I was a psychiatric nurse practitioner student, it was required for us to have the DSM-5. And I love that book because it just made all of the diagnosis simple. It was a requirement for me to have the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So, AKA the DSM-5. Bread and butter. I got these tabs off of Amazon. I saw another student with them, and it basically just breaks the book up into diagnosis for you. So you have ADHD, learning disorders, motor tic disorders, bipolar 1, bipolar 2. It just breaks it up. It's easier for you to find your section. This was a requirement in school. So if psych is your route, 9 times out of 10, you'll need to have this book. A book that wasn't required that my preceptor recommended to me was Stahl's Essential Psychopharmacology Prescriber's Guide, 7th edition. And this helped me a lot in clinical. It basically has all of your psych pharm drugs, the brand name, what is commonly prescribed for, what is FDA approved for, how the drug works. So the pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics, if it works, if it doesn't work. This is like a true prescriber's guide if you're doing psych. So this is another book that I love that was not required, or this is a book that I love that is not required for the program, but it helped a lot, and I'll definitely use it in my practice. So those are 2 resources that I use in my psych program, the latter one being one that wasn't required, the first one being one that is required. Second question, any sacrifices? I guess this is a good question to end it off. Sacrifices. I mean, of course, like you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice time with your time away from your family, time studying, time hanging out with your friends. But for me, it was very important for me to have work-life school balance. So throughout my nursing school journey, from my ASN to my BSN to my master's degree, I never wanted to feel deprived of the things that I love doing. So I didn't stop doing them. Maybe I didn't do them in excess. Maybe I couldn't do them when I wanted to, but I made sure that I made time to do the things that I wanted to do. One of those things was traveling. when I had my ASN, I went to Miami. I think I went with my BSN, I went to Puerto Rico. With my master's degree, I went to Cabo, I went to Miami. Like, you know, I love traveling, so I didn't want to stop doing that just because I was in school. You know, you make sure you have all of your things done. Maybe go during a break, or go during Christmas break, or go between semesters. Or, you know, if you want to go for your birthday, but you have all these things that you have to do, get everything done before you have to go, so that you don't have to worry about school. You can just go to wherever you want to go to and you can relax. For me, in my last semester of my master's program, I had to complete 240 clinical hours. And it was very important for me to complete all of those hours before my birthday. So the semester started in August. My birthday was in October. And I wanted to complete those hours before my birthday, so that on my birthday I could relax. It would be like a mini celebration that I finished my clinical, and it's my 31st birthday, and boom. That's what I did. I sacrificed. I did clinical pretty much Monday through Friday. I flew to Virginia to have some clinical done. So that I sacrificed time with my in my relationship with my significant other. I was gone for 3 weeks total to go to Virginia to complete some clinical hours up there, because it was very important for me to have that experience. So I did sacrifice a little bit there, but like I said, it's doable. If you manage your time well, it can be done. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. It's been great, you know, hearing myself and being able to let this out and just go through my journey and kind of celebrate myself and I have accomplished. And I'm glad to share with you. And I can't talk. That's what I can't do. I can't wait to come up with more ideas, come up with more videos to record for you guys, and to share my story, or to share any advice. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them down in the comment box, or wherever you leave questions, you can leave them down there and I will definitely answer them. If you have any questions about my journey, any questions about nursing in general, nursing school, I'm glad to give any advice that I can. Very interested in giving back to the young men and young women, older men, older women that are going through the same struggles that I have gone through, or that are interested in starting nursing school. So like I said, if you have any questions, just put them down in the question box. Just whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. Just ask me questions and I will get back to you guys. See you later.